The night was silent. No wind, no sound of animals, only darkness covering the small town. A man named Daniel walked alone on the empty road. He was just an ordinary man with an ordinary life. Nothing in his past was special. He had no power, no riches, no great future waiting for him. He was only one human among billions. But that night something strange happened. Above him the sky suddenly cracked open with a flash of silver light. It was not lightning. It was not a shooting star. It was something else, something alive. Daniel stopped and looked up. His heart began to beat fast. The light grew larger and brighter until it covered the road. Before he could run, the light pulled him up. His body rose from the ground like he was weightless. He tried to scream, but no voice came out. The world around him twisted, and he felt his body falling through emptiness. Then, silence. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was no longer on Earth. He lay on a cold floor, glowing faintly under a strange blue light. The air smelled different, heavy, full of unknown scents. His ears picked up sounds, voices whispering in a language he could not understand. Slowly he sat up. His eyes widened. He was inside a palace. The walls shimmered like glass, but stronger, unbreakable. Strange symbols floated in the air, moving on their own. A wide hall stretched before him, filled with tall figures. They were not human. Their bodies were covered in armor that looked alive, moving with their skin. Their faces were sharp, with glowing eyes that never blinked. They were aliens. The tallest of them stepped forward. His voice echoed deep and powerful, though Daniel did not understand the words. Still, the message was clear. The alien pointed at him, then turned toward the great doors at the end of the hall. The doors opened with a slow, heavy sound. A strong golden light filled the room. Every alien guard bowed their head, lowering their weapons. Daniel's heart almost stopped. Someone was coming. From the golden light, a figure appeared. She was different from the others. Her body was taller than any human woman, her skin smooth with a faint silver glow. Her eyes burned like two stars, sharp yet filled with mystery. She wore a crown made of living fire, and her robe floated in the air as if it had its own life. The aliens whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. Daniel understood only one word: Queen. The alien queen stepped closer, her gaze fixed on him. She moved like a storm wrapped in beauty. Her steps were slow, yet each one carried power. Daniel tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He could only stare at her. The queen raised her hand, and the whispers in the hall went silent. She looked at Daniel for a long moment, her eyes scanning every part of him as if she could see his soul. Finally, her lips curved into a strange smile. "This human," she said, her voice deep and clear, her language suddenly shaping into words he could understand. "This is the one I have chosen." Daniel's blood turned cold. Chosen for what? The guards looked at each other in shock. One of them spoke loudly, his voice full of disbelief. "Your Majesty, he is weak. He is nothing compared to us." The queen's eyes flashed, and the guard fell silent, bowing his head. She walked closer to Daniel, her hand reaching toward his face but stopping just before touching him. Her voice was soft now, yet dangerous. "You are mine," she whispered. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he thought it would burst. He wanted to shout, to run, to escape, but his body would not move. He felt trapped under her gaze, as if invisible chains held him still. The queen turned to her court. "Prepare him," she commanded. "He belongs to me now." The guards nodded, though some faces showed fear, others anger. None dared to argue again. Daniel was pulled to his feet by two alien soldiers. Their grip was like iron. He tried to resist, but it was useless. He looked once more at the queen. Her smile was calm, but her eyes burned with secrets. In that moment, Daniel understood something terrible. He was not here by accident. He was brought here for a reason, but what reason? Why him, out of all humans on Earth? The queen's last words echoed in his mind. "You are mine." The hall doors closed behind him with a thunderous sound. Darkness swallowed the light. And Daniel realized that his ordinary life was gone forever. He was now part of a game he could not understand. A game controlled by the alien queen, and she had chosen him. The heavy doors opened again, and Daniel was pulled inside a new chamber. His eyes widened. It was even greater than the first hall. The floor glowed like living crystal, and pillars rose high into the sky, shining with a faint silver fire. Strange creatures floated in the air like living lights, watching him with curious eyes. Daniel's legs trembled, but the alien guards pushed him forward. His heart beat like a drum. He did not belong here. Yet every step forced him deeper into the unknown. At the far end of the chamber, a throne stood tall. It was carved from black stone, but the stone pulsed as if alive. Around the throne, alien priests whispered prayers in a language Daniel could not understand. Their voices rose and fell, making the air heavy, making him feel like an insect in a world of giants. Then the queen entered. She did not come through doors. Instead, a golden light spilled down from the ceiling, and she stepped out of it like a goddess descending from the stars. Daniel had seen her before, but now, under the full light of her throne room, he saw her more clearly. She was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Her skin shone with silver tones, but when she moved, colors danced across her body like fire and water. Her crown shifted shape with every breath, and her eyes, two burning suns, never blinked. The court bowed low, every alien dropping to one knee, weapons lowered. Only Daniel remained standing, confused, frozen between fear and awe. The queen sat upon her throne, her robe flowing around her like a living shadow. She rested her chin on one hand, her gaze locked on Daniel. "So," she said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber, "the human stands before me." The words echoed inside his skull, though her lips barely moved. He realized with shock she was speaking directly into his mind. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to ask why he was here, but the words died on his tongue. The queen tilted her head, studying him like one might study a rare animal. "So fragile, so small, yet there is something. I can feel it." Whispers spread through the court. Some voices trembled with fear, others with anger. One bold advisor stepped forward. He had sharp armor and long silver hair that twisted like metal wires. "Your Majesty," the advisor said, his voice loud and full of disgust. "You cannot choose him. He is weak. He cannot fight, he cannot rule, he is nothing but soft flesh." The queen's eyes flared with fire. She did not raise her voice, but her reply shook the chamber. Silence. The advisor's body froze as if chains wrapped around him. He fell to his knees, choking until the queen's gaze shifted away. Then he collapsed, gasping for air, and dared not speak again. Daniel's blood turned cold. She had not touched him, but her power had crushed the alien warrior like an insect. The queen's eyes returned to Daniel. She leaned forward slightly, her burning stare piercing into him. "Human," she said softly. "Do you know why you are here?" Daniel's lips trembled. "No," he whispered. The queen's smile was slow, dangerous. "You were not taken by chance. Out of all your kind, I chose you." The court gasped at her words. Daniel shook his head. "Why me? I'm no one. I'm just a man." The queen rose from her throne. Her presence filled the chamber, pressing against his chest like a storm. She walked down the steps, every movement perfect, graceful, unstoppable. She stopped in front of him. "You are human," she said, her voice both gentle and sharp. "And that is enough." Her hand lifted, brushing only the air near his cheek. Daniel flinched, but she did not touch him. Instead, she lowered her voice, almost like a secret. "Your people are weak in body, but strong in spirit. You survive where others fall. You fight even when all hope is gone. That is why I chose you." Daniel stared at her, his mind spinning. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside he knew she was right. Humans were survivors. Even he, an ordinary man, had endured pain, loneliness, and failure. He had always stood up again, no matter how hard life had struck him. The queen's lips curved into a smile that was both cruel and tender. "You will stay by my side. You will learn our ways. You will prove to my court that you are worthy of my choice. Fail." Her eyes flared bright. "And you will die." The guards tightened their grip on Daniel's arms. The queen turned to her people. "Prepare the trials. Let him show his worth." The court erupted in whispers. Some were afraid. Others laughed, sure that the human would fail and perish. But all obeyed. Daniel's heart pounded. Trials? What trials? He wanted to scream, to run, but there was no escape. He looked at the queen again, and her burning eyes told him the truth. This was only the beginning. The queen stepped back onto her throne, watching him with a hunger in her gaze. And Daniel, still trapped between alien guards, finally understood his new reality. The alien queen had chosen him, and now he would have to survive her world, or die in it. The night inside the alien palace was not dark. The walls glowed faintly as if the stone itself carried light. Daniel sat alone in a small chamber, his heart heavy. The guards had left him there after the queen's command. Trials. That word kept repeating in his head. Trials meant danger, Trials meant death. He was just an ordinary man. Back on Earth, he had never been a fighter. He had never held a sword, never faced monsters, never stood in front of an alien queen. But now his life depended on something he did not even understand. Suddenly, the door opened with a hiss. 2 guards entered, their glowing eyes fixed on him. They said nothing, only grabbed his arms and pulled him out. Daniel did not resist. He knew there was no escape. The hallways twisted like a maze, full of strange lights and carvings that seemed to move when he looked too long. At last, the guards pushed him into a wide chamber. Gasps and shouts filled the air. It was an arena. The court had gathered above, sitting on high platforms carved into the walls. Strange drums beat in the distance. Fires of blue and green rose from the floor, casting shadows that looked alive. And at the highest seat, watching from her black throne, was the queen. Her eyes burned brighter than the flames. The announcer's voice boomed across the chamber. The queen has chosen the human. Tonight he must face the trials of worth. If he survives, he will stay by her side. If he fails, the crowd roared. He will die. Daniel's stomach twisted. His legs felt weak. He wanted to run, but the gates behind him had already closed. The first trial began. From the far side of the arena, the floor cracked open. A creature climbed out, its body like stone, its arms heavy as hammers, its eyes glowing with fire. It roared, shaking the air. Daniel froze. The crowd screamed with excitement. How can I fight this? The creature charged. Daniel dove to the side, barely avoiding a crushing blow. Dust and sparks flew as the monster's fist struck the floor. Daniel scrambled up, his mind racing. There were no weapons, nothing in his hands. Only his body. The creature attacked again, faster this time. Daniel ran, weaving between the pillars in the arena. He remembered something from his childhood. Running from bullies, too weak to fight, but always clever enough to escape. That was it. He couldn't fight with strength. He had to fight with his mind. He led the creature toward a sharp crystal pillar. At the last second, he turned. The monster's heavy arm struck the pillar, shattering it into pieces. A shard of crystal slid near Daniel's feet. He grabbed it. The edge was sharp, glowing faintly with energy. The crowd gasped. The queen leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. The creature roared and charged again. Daniel waited, heart pounding. At the last moment, he rolled aside and drove the crystal shard deep into the creature's glowing chest. The beast screamed, its fire dimming, its body breaking into dust and stone. The arena shook as it fell. Silence filled the chamber. Then slowly the crowd began to cheer. Daniel stood there, breathing hard, blood running from his scraped arms. He looked up at the queen. She was smiling, not kindly, but with interest, like a hunter watching prey surprise her. But the trials were not over. The announcer's voice thundered again. The first trial ends. The second begins. The floor shifted. The arena changed, breaking into smaller sections, some rising, some sinking. Water poured in from hidden gates, filling the space. Within moments, Daniel was standing on a single platform, surrounded by deep, glowing water. The crowd grew silent. Something moved beneath the surface. Daniel's eyes darted. Ripples spread across the water. Then, fast as lightning, a shadow leapt up. A creature with long arms, sharp teeth, and skin like black glass. Its eyes glowed green. It hissed, circling him. Daniel's breath quickened. He had no weapon now, only his body, his wits, and his will. The creature lunged, dragging him into the water. The cold was like knives cutting his skin. He kicked, fought, his lungs burning. The monster's teeth snapped near his throat. But then he remembered something. Back on Earth, he had once fallen into a river. He had nearly drowned, but he had survived by not fighting the water, by using it. He stopped struggling and let himself sink deeper. The creature followed, confused. In the stillness, Daniel saw a sharp stone at the bottom, glowing faintly. He grabbed it. Then, with one last burst of strength, he shoved the stone into the creature's mouth as it lunged. The monster thrashed, then went still, its body dissolving into smoke. Daniel broke the surface, gasping for air. The crowd exploded with sound. Some cheered, others cursed. On her throne, the queen rose to her feet. For the first time, Daniel saw something strange in her eyes. Not just hunger, not just curiosity, but respect. The announcer raised his voice. The human has passed the second trial. Daniel collapsed onto the platform, coughing, shaking, but alive. He lifted his head and met the queen's gaze, and in that moment he understood. The trials were not meant to kill him. They were meant to show something. To her people, but what? The Queen's voice filled the arena. Enough for today. The human has earned another sunrise. The guards pulled Daniel from the platform, dragging him away. The crowd's voices echoed behind him, some cheering, some demanding his death. As the doors closed, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The Queen had chosen him. But now he was not just her possession. He was her experiment, and every trial would bring him closer to the truth. Or to his end. The night inside the alien palace never truly ended. The walls glowed softly, giving the halls an endless twilight. Daniel sat in a chamber high above the arena, his body weak and trembling after the trials. His arms ached, his lungs burned, and his skin carried bruises and cuts. Yet he was alive. Alive when he should have been dead. The guards had left him alone this time. No chains, no weapons pointed at him. Just silence. But silence was not safety. The door opened. Daniel lifted his head, expecting guards. Instead he saw her, the Queen. She entered with slow, graceful steps. Her robe drifted like mist around her. The air itself seemed to bow before her presence. Daniel's heart hammered. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but her gaze silenced him. She stood before him, watching him like a hunter studies prey, or perhaps like a scientist studies a strange new discovery. "You survived," she said softly, her voice echoing inside his mind. "Few of my kind could do what you did with nothing but your hands and your fear." Daniel swallowed. "I didn't win with strength," he whispered. "I only remembered. I used what I knew." The Queen tilted her head. "Yes, that is what makes you different." She raised her hand. The air shimmered, and suddenly the walls around them changed. The chamber melted into images, memories. Daniel gasped as he saw flashes of his own past. A small boy running from bullies in the schoolyard. A young man sitting alone in the rain after losing his job. A mother's soft voice telling him to never give up. The pain of failure. The fire of hope. The stubborn will to keep moving forward even when nothing seemed possible. Daniel fell to his knees, clutching his head. How are you showing this?" The Queen's eyes glowed. "Your mind speaks louder than your voice. Every memory is written in your spirit, and I see it now." She stepped closer, her voice lower, almost a whisper. "Your body is weak, but your spirit bends like iron without breaking. That is what your kind carries. That is what drew me to you." Daniel looked up at her, fear and confusion mixing inside him. "You chose me? Because of that? Because I don't give up?" The Queen's lips curved into a smile, not kind but not cruel either. "Yes, my people are strong, powerful, eternal in their rule. But we have lost something. We no longer fight when all hope is gone. We no longer endure the impossible. You humans, you still do." She lifted her hand again, and the chamber filled with visions. Daniel saw Earth from far above, small and blue. Then he saw humans, working, fighting, laughing, crying, standing together in cities and villages. "You burn so bright," the Queen whispered, "even in your weakness, even in your suffering. That fire is why I brought you here." The images vanished. Silence filled the chamber once more. Daniel tried to stand, his legs shaking. "If that's true," he said, his voice rough, "then why put me through the trials? Why make me fight monsters?" The Queen's gaze sharpened. "Because my people doubt you. They doubt me. They believe you are nothing. You had to show them. You had to show me." Her words cut deep. Daniel realized the truth. He was not only fighting for his own life. He was fighting to prove something far greater, the value of humanity itself. But why? Daniel took a deep breath. "And what happens if I prove it? What happens if I pass all of your trials?" For the first time, the Queen hesitated. Her burning eyes softened just slightly, as though she was remembering something distant. "Then," she said slowly, "you will not only stand at my side, you will change my world." The words made Daniel's skin crawl. Change her world? How could one man change an empire of aliens? He was nobody. Just a human taken from a lonely road on Earth. But the Queen's eyes told him she was not lying. Her robe shifted as she turned away, her voice now distant, but heavy with meaning. "Rest while you can. The next trial will not test your body. It will test your soul." Daniel shivered. What could that mean? What trial could break his soul? The Queen paused at the doorway, her head turning slightly. Her voice entered his mind once more, soft as a whisper. "You humans hide pain behind courage, hope behind fear. I want to see all of it." Then she was gone. Daniel sank back against the wall, his chest heaving. His mind raced with images of his past, his failures, his stubborn will. The Queen had seen all of it, and she still wanted more. For the first time since his capture, Daniel realized something terrifying. This was not just about survival anymore. The alien Queen wanted to know what it truly meant to be human, and she would tear open his very soul to find out. The palace did not sleep. Even in the deepest hours, the halls glowed with silver light, and the whispers of alien voices never ended. Daniel walked under guard, his body still weak from the trials, but his mind sharp. He knew something was changing. The Queen was watching him more closely, and the court was restless. Not everyone wanted him alive. The guards stopped in a wide hall lined with tall black statues. The doors opened, and Daniel was pushed inside. The chamber was empty, silent except for a low hum in the walls. For a moment he thought he had been brought here to rest. Then he heard footsteps, heavy, purposeful. From the shadows stepped a tall alien warrior. His armor was darker than night, lined with silver scars. His face was hard, his eyes burning not with curiosity like the Queen's, but with pure hatred. Daniel froze. The warrior spoke, his voice deep and sharp. "You are the Queen's pet." Daniel said nothing. His throat felt dry. The warrior moved closer, each step shaking the ground. "I have served her for many cycles. I have fought wars for her. I have bled for her. And now she dares to bring you here? A soft creature of flesh? A weak human?" He spat the word as if it was poison. Daniel took a step back. "I didn't choose this. She brought me here. I never asked for it." The warrior's laugh was cruel. "That is the problem. You did not earn her gaze. But I will make sure you lose it." The guards did not move. They watched silently as if they knew this was meant to happen. The warrior raised a long spear, its blade glowing faintly with blue fire. Daniel's chest tightened. This was no trial arranged by the Queen, this was personal. "Fight me," the warrior growled. "Prove you are worth even one breath in her presence. Or die like the insect you are." Daniel looked around. There were no weapons, no escape. His body shook, but his mind whispered the same truth as before. "You cannot win with strength. You must survive." The warrior lunged. Daniel dove aside, the spear slicing the air where he had stood. Sparks flew as the blade cut into the stone floor. Daniel scrambled up, his heart racing. "You don't have to do this," he shouted, but the warrior only sneered. "I do this for her. She will see your blood and remember who truly deserves her side." The spear struck again, closer this time. Daniel barely rolled away. His arms burned, his chest ached, but he kept moving. Running, dodging, surviving, the warrior laughed. "Pathetic. You run like a coward."
"Stand and face me!"
Daniel's eyes darted across the chamber. A broken piece of stone lay near one of the statues. He grabbed it quickly. It wasn't sharp, but it was heavy. The warrior charged again, faster than before. Daniel waited until the last moment, then swung the stone with all his strength. It struck the warrior's face. The sound cracked through the chamber. The alien stumbled, roaring with fury. His eyes glowed brighter, his rage filling the room. He swung the spear wildly, forcing Daniel back against the wall. Daniel's breath came in gasps. He couldn't keep this up. One wrong move and he would be dead. Then he remembered the Queen's words. "You humans survive where others fall." His mind cleared. He could not outfight the warrior. But maybe he could outthink him. Daniel backed toward one of the black statues. The warrior followed, spear raised high. At the last second, Daniel ducked. The spear slammed into the statue instead, cracking its base. The huge stone figure toppled forward. The warrior's eyes widened too late. The statue crashed down, pinning his arm beneath its weight. The spear clattered to the floor. Daniel grabbed it. The weapon felt heavy, alive, humming with strange power. He pointed it at the warrior, his hands shaking. The alien snarled, his voice dripping with hatred. "Do it, kill me, human. Show them you are more than a coward." Daniel's chest heaved. He looked at the warrior, trapped and beaten. He could end it now. One strike and his rival would be gone. But something inside him resisted. He lowered the spear. "No," Daniel said. His voice was rough but firm. "I don't need to kill you to prove myself. That's the difference between us. You fight for pride. I fight to survive." The warrior's face twisted with rage. "You think mercy makes you strong?" A new voice cut through the chamber. "It does," the Queen said. Daniel turned. She was standing in the doorway, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. The guards bowed instantly, but she did not look at them. She looked only at Daniel. The queen walked forward, her gaze shifting between him and the trapped warrior. You showed cunning. You showed courage. But most of all, you showed mercy. Her eyes burned with something new, something dangerous. That is what makes humans powerful. The warrior lowered his head, his anger mixing with shame. He had lost, not just the fight, but the queen's favor. The queen stepped closer to Daniel, her voice soft but sharp. You are proving me right. And that terrifies them. Daniel gripped the spear tighter, his mind racing. He had survived again, not by strength but by being human. But he could feel it. Every victory made him more of a target. The court would never stop hating him. The rival would not forget this humiliation, and the queen. The queen wanted more. The alien palace shook with voices. The court was restless, louder than ever. The human had survived again. He had outwitted the beasts of the arena. He had even faced the queen's strongest warrior and walked away alive. But not everyone saw this as a victory. From every corner of the hall, advisors, generals, and priests shouted in anger. He is a danger, one cried. He is weak flesh, a stain in our queen's court, another spat.
He must die or he will poison our people with his lies.
The queen sat on her black throne, her eyes glowing with a steady fire. She did not speak. She only listened. Daniel stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by guards. He could feel the weight of every stare pressing on him. Hatred burned in their eyes. If looks could kill, he would already be dead. One advisor stepped forward, his long silver cloak dragging across the floor. His voice was sharp as a blade. Your Majesty, your mercy blinds you. This creature is no more than a parasite. He has tricked the trials. He does not win with strength, only with cheap tricks and luck. If you keep him, you weaken yourself. The crowd of nobles shouted in agreement. Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to speak to defend himself, but his voice would mean nothing here. To them, he was not a man. He was only an animal. Another priest spoke, his voice trembling with fear. Majesty, it is more than weakness. He carries danger in his spirit. If one human can survive this, then what of others? What if his kind learns of us? They will rise, they will spread, they will challenge our rule. The hall filled with whispers of fear. Daniel's stomach twisted. They did not just hate him. They feared him. Finally, the queen lifted her hand. Silence spread instantly. Her gaze swept across her court and then settled on Daniel. You demand his death, she said softly, her voice calm but heavy with power. And yet none of you could defeat him. Her words cut through the silence like a knife. The rival warrior, his pride still wounded from their battle, stepped forward. His voice shook with anger. Because you protect him. You gave him favor. Without your shadow, he would be dust in the arena. The queen's eyes narrowed. A dangerous silence fell. Are you saying my judgment is false? The warrior dropped to one knee, bowing his head quickly. No, Majesty. I only say, your people do not accept him. The queen rose from her throne. The air grew heavy, the fires in the hall burning brighter. Then perhaps it is not he who is weak. Perhaps it is you who are afraid. Her words sent a ripple through the crowd. Some nobles lowered their eyes. Others whispered angrily. Daniel stood frozen, his heart racing. He had never seen power like this. She was not just their queen. She was their storm, their sun, their terror. And yet she was protecting him, but at what cost? The queen turned back to Daniel. Her eyes softened just for a moment. Only he saw it. Human, she said. You stand in my court, accused of being unworthy. I could end you now and my people would cheer. Or I could keep you and risk their anger. Her voice echoed like thunder. Why should I choose you? Daniel's throat tightened. This was it. His life hung on his answer. He took a shaky breath, forcing himself to speak. I can't promise strength, he said. I can't promise power or glory. But I can promise this, I will not give up. No matter what you throw at me, no matter how much they hate me, I will keep standing. Because that's what it means to be human. His voice cracked, but he did not look away. The hall was silent. Every alien waited for the queen's response, then she laughed. Not a cruel laugh, not a mocking one. A laugh full of fire. Do you hear him? This fragile creature dares to stand against all of you, even when he has nothing. She turned to her court, her voice sharp as lightning. That is why I chose him. Not for his body. Not for his blood. For his fire. The nobles stirred, their voices rising again in anger. But none dared to shout against her. None dared to face her burning eyes. Daniel's chest rose and fell, his heart pounding. He had spoken truth. And somehow it had reached her. The queen walked down from her throne, her steps slow, her robe flowing like living smoke. She stopped before Daniel, her eyes blazing. "You are mine," she said firmly. "Not my prisoner, not my pet. Mine." Her words were final, unshakable. The court was silent, but Daniel felt the weight of their hatred press heavier than ever. They would never forgive him. They would never accept him, but he was still alive. As the guards led him out of the chamber, Daniel glanced back. The queen was still standing in the center of her throne room, fire in her gaze, her court bowing in reluctant silence. For the first time, Daniel realized something terrifying. The queen's choice was not just about him, it was about war. If she kept him, she would stand against her own people. And if she lost their trust, the empire itself could break, and all of it rested on him. The palace was quiet, but the silence was not peace. It was the silence before a storm. Daniel walked through the halls with 2 guards at his side. His body was tired, his mind full of questions. Why had she truly chosen him? Why risk her throne, her people, for a single human? The doors opened. He entered the throne chamber again, but this time the court was not there. Only the queen sat upon her black throne, her eyes burning like 2 suns. The guards left. The doors shut. Daniel was alone with her. For a long moment she said nothing. She only studied him as if she was looking into his very soul. Finally, her voice echoed through the empty chamber. "It is time you knew the truth." Daniel's breath caught. "The truth?" The queen rose, her robe flowing like living smoke. She stepped down from her throne, each movement smooth, terrifying, perfect. "My people believe me to be eternal," she said. "Unchanging, stronger than time. But they are blind. They do not see what I see." She raised her hand. The air shimmered. Visions filled the chamber. Stars burning, then dying. Worlds rising, then falling. Civilizations climbing to glory, then vanishing into dust. Daniel's heart pounded. "What is this?" "The truth of the galaxy," she said softly. "Every empire believes it will last forever. But forever is a lie. Power fades. Pride breaks. My people. They are already fading." The vision shifted. Daniel saw her people, tall, powerful, perfect. But their eyes were hollow, their movements cold. They were strong, but they lacked something. Something human. "They no longer fight when hope is gone," the queen whispered. "They no longer dream of more. They only keep what they have, fearing loss. And in that fear they rot." Her eyes locked on Daniel, burning with fire. "That is why I chose you." Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered her words in the chamber of memories, the trials, the court. All of it had been leading to this moment. "You," she said, her voice sharp and fierce. "Carry what my people have lost. Pain, yes. Weakness, yes. But also fire, hope, the will to rise again after every fall. That is what makes humans dangerous. That is why you must stand at my side." Daniel shook his head. "I'm just one man. I'm not a hero. I can't change your people." The queen stepped closer. Her presence was overwhelming, her gaze unshakable. "You already have. Every trial you faced, every breath you refused to give up, every choice you made, they saw it. They felt it. They hate you because they fear what you awaken inside them." She reached out her hand. "Together we can bring it back. The fire, the will, the dream of more." Daniel stared at her hand. His mind raced. If he took it, he would bind himself to her, to this empire, to a future he could not see. If he refused, he might die here alone. But before he could answer, the chamber doors burst open. The rival warrior entered, his face twisted with rage. Behind him came advisors and priests, their voices sharp with fury. "This cannot be allowed," the rival shouted. "The queen betrays us. She brings weakness into our heart." The court filled with angry cries. Weapons were drawn. The air trembled with the promise of blood. The queen did not move. She only stood taller, her eyes blazing. "You call it weakness," she thundered. "I call it strength." Her power flared, filling the chamber with golden fire. The crowd froze, their eyes wide, their voices silenced. Daniel's breath came fast. This was it. The moment. The queen's voice cut through the fire. "You want me to choose? Him or you? Then hear me now." She turned, her hand still reaching for Daniel. "I choose him." The chamber shook with fury. Cries of betrayal echoed, but none dared to strike. Her power pressed on them like a mountain. Daniel's mind spun. She had chosen him fully openly against her people, and now the Empire itself trembled. The rival warrior snarled, "You will destroy us all for this human." The Queen's gaze burned. "No, he will save us." The fire around her dimmed, her eyes softening as she looked at Daniel. Not because he is stronger, not because he is greater, but because he is human, and in humanity lies the seed of survival itself. The chamber fell silent. The nobles stared, their hatred still alive but mixed now with something else. Doubt. Daniel's hand shook. He could hardly believe it. A human, a nobody, chosen not just as her consort, not just as her possession, but as a symbol of the future. The Queen lowered her hand slowly, her final words filling the hall. "This is not the end. This is the beginning. Together we will change everything." The court bowed, some in fear, some in anger, some in reluctant respect. The rival warrior lowered his head, his eyes still burning with hate, but he said nothing. Daniel stood in the center of it all, his heart racing. He had come from nothing, from a lonely road on Earth. Now he stood beside an alien queen at the edge of a storm that could reshape the galaxy. And deep inside, he knew the truth. This was not a rescue, not a love story, not even a victory. This was the start of something far greater, the start of war,